Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is a time-lapse of digitally painting a portrait of Radical Edward from Cowboy Bebop. Among the Bebop characters, Edward is probably one of the most memorable ones and my personal favorite. The reference that we will use is this image here. There isn't any specific reason I chose this image. I just googled and it was one of the first ones I saw. Before we start drawing and painting, studying the reference is very important. I remember when I used to draw life portraits, my teacher used to tell us to spend at least a few minutes observing the model first before starting to draw. The direction of light is somewhere right above Edward's head. It is facing her directly. This observation is based on the strong shadows we have beneath Edward's jaw, her hair, and on the arm. But bear in mind that this image is from animation, so they've minimized their color palette and variation of shadows because of production. Her silhouette is very strong. There isn't much more to look for. It is a very simple portrait shot. The changes that I'll bring is removing the stick that's in the foreground, more color variations like shadows, highlights, mid-shadows, mid-lights, and add a nose. I think if we add a nose to this image, it would look very interesting. Okay, so we will start with a quick sketch. Usually, if I am drawing or sketching a non-digital project, I keep the drawing very light, and so should you. But since I'm drawing digitally, I have the privilege of changing the opacity of the layer later on. Once I am happy with the sketch, we'll move on to painting the base color. Usually I divide the colors into three groups. We have the base color of a material or reference, then we have the shadows and the lights, and then I further divide them into subcategories like mid shadows, dark shadows, highlights, and midlights. This gives me variations and something to look for when I'm observing the reference. This isn't a very methodical way of studying a reference, but it works for me and I'm quite used to it, so if you feel like it's no good, then just ignore. As you might have noticed by now, I'm mainly using two types of brush. One is the solid that doesn't blend or mix with the pre-existing paint on the same layer. The second one is a wet brush that has the characteristics of a real brush when you paint wet on wet. By the way, one bad practice that I have in this video is not naming and organizing my layers as I paint. If you are working in the industry, it is always expected to have your layers properly named and organized because of accessibility. It is common to share the project with other artists. Honestly, it is a pain when you get a Photoshop file and there's like 50 layers not named and you have to go through each to find what you're looking for. From experience, one time I was working on a group project and I had to do the cleanup. When I got the files, they were named in a different language, so I had to go through each layer and rename it. much left with this. I am pretty happy how the face and goggles look like. So I'm going to bring a bit more volume and dimensionality to the hair by adding more shades. Always zoom out during your painting or drawing and observe your work. It helps with staying consistent as a whole, and you can resolve issues early on rather than spending all your time and realizing at the end. A bit of cleanup at the end and changing the background to the blue, which contrasts with Edward's dominant red hair. I think that is it. Thanks for watching, and catch you guys with the next video.